here, over there. This is something new. Can you imagine you are the only Christian in whole cities? How would you represent Jesus to them? This kind of same idea. We wanted to go walk around, bless the nation, pray for them, and love them. So that was, but I named it Jericho Project, which brought alarm to them once they found out what I was doing at the time. So we call it Operation Jericho. Seems like military terms. so it brought me, I'll share a little bit about that a little later. But this was how it all began. 2011 to 2012, I brought in 300 people from 17 different nations. People from Africa, people from Asia, South, Middle, and Central, Northern, North America, and European countries. All these nations, all these continents were presented. And start going in, 10, 15, 20 people at a time, go in and go, see the land, pray, worship, and love the people, come out, another team goes in. We did over 23 different times going into North Korea. And when we did this, many things happened. I see the really spiritual war coming down, restore, the relations being restored. We're building a bridge, and it was wonderful. At the same time, it was also spiritually very challenging because when you're engaging in spiritual warfare, when you shoot, they'll shoot back. So therefore, every trip we have somebody get sick. And then when somebody gets sick, then it's really difficult. And not only so, we had a flat tire sometime. We had a car problem. We missed the train. One time I took the groups to a mountain called Chilbosan. It's a 7 treasure mountain south of Rajin. And then we brought about 6 American pastors there. We went up to the top of the mountain together. We drove up there. It's a beautiful mountain. And then these pastors pray and worship inside. They're singing how great is our God and amazing grace. And they were singing and all those things. This is the first time that I was told that it was the first time after Korean War, the American pastor ever to go up to the mountain and pray and worship like this. It's the first time ever. So we are coming down. They all filled with the Holy Spirit. Our bus is coming down, and our bus driver fell asleep. And then our bus went up the cliff, and then bus tumbled around a couple of times, and we ended up in the big ditch. We didn't go all the way down, but bus was totally damaged. It was totally destroyed, but nobody got hurt. It was God protected everybody's. And then so we came out, and then and everybody is shaking. There are all these North Korean people are they're just shaken up and everything. But all the pastors said, no, we're okay. We're not going to make a problem for this. We are fine. Please do not punish the driver. It was just a mistake. So and then while we were doing that, another bus came to pick us up, and this time they brought some doctors and nurses on the bus. The only thing is, when they came, they didn't bring any medicine, they didn't bring any bandage, they didn't bring anything. They just came by themselves. They didn't bring anything. So, and they say, are you okay? What if we're not okay? What are they going to do, And so we got on this new bus, and then the next day we were going down, and then bulldozer came out and hit the bus again. And then bus was totally damaged again, but nobody got hurt. So this happened twice. And then usually when we go a trip like this, usually somebody from National Security Bureau follows along. He's the one make sure to monitor. We call him minder. So first day he was sitting in the front of the bus. Bus went down on the cliff in the front area, so he almost died there. So he came out, he got so mad at the driver. Next day he was so scared, so he was sitting in the back of the bus, and the bulldozer hit the back of the bus. And so in 2 days he almost died twice. And he said, you guys are so dangerous. So we have this kind of dramas for 2 years, for the 1 year, all this trip, every time was difficult, every time there were challenges. And my last trip, I led the group into North Korea 18 times. My last trip, I was detained in North Korea. I was detained in North Korea because I carrying in the portable computer hard drive as mistakes. On this portable computer hard drive, it contained Western media footage, like documentary film about North Korea. They got really got mad because I brought in something. It's kind of shameful. It's like the kids picking up the noodle from the ground or something like this. They're seeing these kids, digging something from the garbage dump. So they got so mad and they say, why did you bring such a hostile material into the country? So I say, it was purely mistakes. I didn't even know I had these files in my hard drive. It was a mistake bringing the hard drive. But they didn't take that for the answers. So I was arrested because of that. But not only so, it only also contained all the media, not only media footage, but all my mission support letter, report about my mission activities in China and North Korea. And there was 8,000 photos and videos, all those clips. So it was almost like I say, here's, please arrest me. It's the same way. I handed over all my evidence to them. So I was taken into a remote place in the mountain. Is a whole special holding place for foreign prisoners there. So National Security Bureau agent were there waiting for me. I was put in one of the room, and they've been questioned from early morning, like 8 o'clock in the morning until midnight every day. They only make me. I only slept about 2 or 3 hours a day first few days. They only fed me very little bit of food, and then it was very intense. So they made me write down my confessions. So I wrote down some of the confessions, and then they look at it and say, you know what? No, this is not good enough. And then said, go stand by the wall. So I had on my timeout over there, facing the wall for a couple of hours. And then I said, okay, come back and write some more, and go back again. I was going back and forth first couple of days. On the third day, they said, no, you don't need to go to the wall anymore. Stand in the middle of the room, standing still. Do not move at all. If you're a person, you're a human being, you have to move a little bit. You cannot just stand like robot. But if I move a little bit, they have a camera somewhere, and a hidden camera somewhere. They look at me and say, they came in and yell at me and say, do not move. So I have to stand absolutely still for hours. I'm probably stood for 4 or 5 hours straight. But something amazing things just happened. My back wasn't hurting. My leg wasn't hurting. I wasn't hungry. I wasn't tired. I wasn't even sleepy. And I was thinking, wait a minute. I think I can do this for several weeks if I need to. But in my heart, I was panicking. I was worried. I was blaming myself. All those emotional, things that were happening. Well, it wasn't just about me. I brought people there. Are they going to be okay? And on my old hard drive contained many information about many missionaries working in China and North Korea. So once they're starting to investigate everything, they'll find out who I am. They'll find out what I've been doing. They'll find out other pieces of information. So many people's life is at stake. So this is a very, very terrifying moment. So think about the fear. Think about all the worries going through while standing still. And then I started to ask God, God, where are you? You've been protecting me, providing for me all this year. Think about J-House story. Think about this hotel back to Jerusalem. And now I've been coming into this city 18 times. Finally, brought in 300 people. And now I got caught. Now I'm standing still in National Security Bureau's special investigation room. And then I asked God, Lord, where are you? I felt like he left me. And suddenly, my hand was getting warm, my left hand. It was something like sparkling like gold dust. And then the warmth starting to spreading to my leg, my arm here. And I have no idea what was happening. And this is when Lord spoke to me and said, Kenneth, Holy Spirit is holding your hand. Do not fear, because I am with you. At that moment, everything changed. I thought God has left me. But he said, no, I am holding your hand. I'm standing by your feet. And he said, do not fear, because I'll never leave you, never forsake you. And so cast all your anxieties upon me, because I care for you. It's come from 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7, the verse that God has given to me that day. And when he said this, and he said, no one will be harmed through this. There's something I will accomplish through this. So just to say, do not worry, be strong, because I am with you. And when God is with me, who can be against me? And then suddenly I felt the joy of the Lord, the peace and presence of God was so thick in the room. I was just overwhelmed with the peace and presence of God. I felt like, I was, injected with this one of those special medications that make you feel very calm down. And I feel like so calm and so peaceful. I was so happy. And then this is like and I just presence of God. And I started to feel so happy, so I started smiling. And when I started smiling, and then the people in the other room saw me through the camera, and I can hear them talking, wait a minute, this is not working. He's smiling. And then they opened the door and said, you know what, just go to bed. You don't need to stand anymore. It was supposed to be punishment, but I'm just smiling all the way. And so I lay down on the bed, and I would start my tears coming out. I thought that God has left me. I've been abandoned. But God said, no, I am with you. If God is with me, if there is something God will accomplish through this, and there must be something that will happen, will glorify God. Next day, I found out everybody I brought in were able to leave the country safely. So I say, I'm ready to tell the truth. I will confess. And then I said, I'm actually missionaries. I'm a pastor. I brought people here to pray and worship. This is what I've done. By then, they figured out who I was, and they say, you can possibly do something like this by yourself. So tell us, who sent you? I said, God. Who's above you? God. I said, no, beside God, gotta be somebody else. And I said, there's nobody. No one except God. God sent me. God made me do this. And then we're going back and forth for a few days. And then they finally say, you know what? You try to overthrow our government. And I said, how did I try to overthrow your governments? And he said, through prayer and worship. I said, excuse me, you don't believe in God. Why do you believe in prayer? You have more faith than most Christians do. Because we as Christians, we say we pray, but we don't believe in, God will come bring down the governments. We don't believe in that, worship will restore. We don't really expect much. I was recently talking to some of the Christians outside. We're talking about, Korean Peninsula crisis right now. There's no solution. What's happening? Trump may attack, and nuclear war may happen. We're all talking like this among Christians. And then they say, there's no solution. I say, yeah, we have a solution. What is it? It's a prayer, and they will laugh. Yeah, beside that. And I say, excuse me. North Korean people apparently have more faith than we do here. And then they say, yeah, you brought people here, 300 people to pray against us. I didn't tell them to pray against them, but pray against us. And you brought worship. They said that no other worship is allowed other than worshiping of their own leaders. And for you to do such a thing will influence others. And then, so by then, they found a lady who I sent her back to North Korea to start an orphanage. I was really, really worried about her safeties. But turned out when she came back, she had to turn herself in. She was pardoned by North Korean government. She was okay. And because of my arrest, she was with questions. And then later on, she became witness against me under my trial. And she was able to go home. But I didn't know whether she was going to be safe or not at the time. So I told them, she tried to start an orphanage, but she could not start. Why is that anything to do with overthrowing the governments? And this is what they told me. If one person become Christian and come back and start an orphanage, Christian orphanage, then 10 children will become Christians. 10 will become hundreds. 100 will become 10,000 some days. When that happens, do you think they're going to be a threat to us or not? And I say, maybe. See, what you have done is you try to inject us with Christian virus into our countries, and then the virus will spread. People will lose their faith in our government and our leader, and everybody will turn to God, and this country will become a God's country. When he said this, I felt like it was God himself spoke to me. Yes, one person can transform the nations. Yes, prayer can transform the nations. So they said, you may be the most dangerous American criminal since Korean War. And I say, how? And they say, not only you try to do mission work by yourself, you train, you mobilize, you make people to pray, you done all those things, therefore we must punish you, make an example out of you, so you are facing death penalty or life in prison. And so you better tell us who's above you, then maybe we can lighten your sentencing a little bit. And then they found out I work with Youth Missions. And Lauren Cunningham, the founder of Youth Mission, actually prayed for me before I was sent to China. They said, we know above you is Lauren Cunningham. Above Lauren Cunningham is Obama. And so they said, President Obama told Lauren Cunningham to tell me to go and terrorize their countries. Therefore, I am a CIA. So I became a CIA agent overnight. I didn't know it was that dangerous at the time. And so they done thorough investigations they sent many people to China. They check all my email, translate and everything. After 4 months later, they finally say, now we know you are just missionaries. But even missionary is very dangerous to us. We are not afraid of nuclear arsenal of the United States because they will never use against us unless we use first, But we are afraid of someone like you, missionaries, coming in, infecting the religions, and all this time, and our country will fall. I was sent to Pyongyang. There was charged officially. And then I was going through the pre-trial period for 4.5 months. And so the prosecutors will come and see me every day, questioning me, all those things. I have to sit in the chair from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. Sitting in the chair, sometimes prosecutor comes in, sometimes he doesn't. So I asked them, can I have my Bible back? So they gave back my Bible that I brought in. So whenever I am free, I am not doing anything, I read a lot of Bible. I must confess I read more Bible in North Korea than any other time in my life. And I pray more there, I worship more in North Korea than any other time in my life. So any of you having a hard time reading Bible, I suggest North Korea is a good place to go. Too bad for travel ban for now, but you have an excuse not to go. But think about the way when you're in desperate, right? You're talking about the actual trial that I'm going to be going, and they say, we're going to kill you, or we're going to put you away for a lifetime, and then, so you have a Bible with you, what would you do? You turn to God, you pray, you worship, and asking God. And then the things getting worse. They done third nuclear testing. They did a long-range missile testing. They said they were about to go to war with America. And their attitude toward me was getting very bad. And then they were saying, if you do not cooperate with us, we'll take you out in the street and shoot tomorrow. So there was a threat was made all those times. But God continued to say, I am with you. Through the many scriptures we read. Do we have a scripture online? Do you guys have something up there? One of the scriptures verse that I gave you? No? It's okay. If you don't have one, I have it here. There's many verses that God has given to me, but He only is my rock and my salvation. He's my high tower. I will not be greatly moved. How long will you go on? We just, all those things, right? And then we're talking about how God is my refuge and my rocks. He said, go ahead and continue to fix my eyes upon the Lord. God has given me many scriptures. He has given me more than 70 scriptures during those times. While I was waiting and sitting and reading the scriptures, and then one time I felt like I was craving 냉면, Pyongyang 냉면. I was craving the cold noodle soup. But I'm in Pyongyang, but they never give me the noodle. But can I have a noodle, please? I cannot do that. But I just smiled. I didn't even ask, or I didn't even pray. But the next day, the Pyongyang naengmyeon was served for lunch. They brought it from a very famous restaurant. I was like, wow, this is great. So I ate, and it was delicious. And the next day, I was sitting there. I started daydreaming about kimchi fried rice, kimchi bokkeumbap. And then I didn't pray or anything like this. And then that evening, kimchi fried rice was served. It happened not only twice, it happened about 40 times in 4.5 months before the trial. So almost I had a room service. Whenever I think about it, God provided within a day or two. It was almost like, wow, this is great. I started testing God. Can I have some, something, I just started having this list of things, something. I didn't make it really hard like pizza or anything like that, spaghetti or, But pretty much almost every type of Korean food I was craving about, God has provided for me at the time. It's almost like God says, see, I am with you. Do not fear, because I will never leave you, never forsake you. So cast all your anxieties upon me, because I care for you. If God show up like this in the middle of North Korea before the trial, and that gave you some assurance that God is with me. I went to trial. I received 15 years of a hard labor sentence. And the prosecutor came to me and then said, congratulations, you got 15 years. You didn't die. I said, thank you. 15 years is a long time. If you go to prison for 15 years, you die there. Slow death, But they said, it's not about you, it's about the U.S. We want to see what your U.S. government will do, So I thought I would not go to the prison. But I was the first American was sent to the North Korean labor camp. When I got there, turned out that this labor camp was only for foreigners only. There were 30 to 40 guards and staff working in the prison, but I was the only prisoner there. So it was a little odd because I was the first American was sent to the North Korean labor camp. And then so from 8 o'clock in the morning, every morning, I have to go out and work because this is a labor camp. So 8 o'clock until 6 o'clock in the evening, 6 days a week, I had to go work in the field. And then carrying rock, digging the hole on the ground, and then also on the winter time, I have to shovel the coal into the furnace, and then many different type of the labor they can endure. You can think about. So in the winter time, it's very cold, minus 15 degrees Celsius. And then I have to work outside. Your hand and your almost your feet is all freezing, and then you are so hot because I'm working. I take my jacket off. In the winter and summertime, so hot. It's 38 degrees Celsius. It's about 100 degrees outside, and 100% humidity outside. And then you have to work. So I drank maybe 5 or 6 gallons of water a day. Never go to the restroom. It's like all sweated out. So it was extremely difficult time to endure. So when I came back from work, came back to my room, I could not move. My back is hurting, my legs hurting. I was so tired I couldn't even keep my eyes open. But it's time to go to sleep. They have this kind of bright light above my bed. They keep the light on for whole time. So really hard to sleep with the light on. Not only so, it doesn't have one of those box screen on the window. Can you imagine? My room is the only room that has a big bright light on. Can you see all this bugs coming in? I have to kill about $200 a day, but still get bitten. And it's almost like one of the movies. And you're sleeping, and then you get the big insect landing on your face. So it was extremely tortureful in a way. And then when I was about to sleep, my hand became numb. I had to shake my hand like this for about 10 minutes. And then it was become numb and very hurt. And then go back to sleep. Every hour I got up. So it was very, very difficult to endure. The suffering was real. It wasn't like I was sitting there waiting to go home, but it was very, very difficult to endure. So one time I asked God, how long would this suffering will last? And the Lord said, even suffering is beneficial for you. I didn't like his answer. I want him to say, yeah, you go home today. So imagine, I've been praying every day to save me, Lord, send me home, take me home. So I made my own calendar, thinking that I'm going home next week. My personal calendar. On the third day, the Lord spoke to me and said, he will be my rescuer, he will be with me, I'm going home. So ever since the third day, I was expecting to go home. But God never said, I'm going to be there another 732 more days. If God told me I'm going to be staying 732 more days, I probably couldn't continue. So when the Bible talks about God will not give you any trial bigger than you can handle, that includes that he may not tell you everything that he can tell you only a little bit that you can handle at a time. So on these days, I was already in prison and working, and I'm still counting the day. How long, Lord? How long do I have to stay here, Lord? That was a question that I had at the time. And then the Lord said, even suffering is beneficial to you. But he only also said, but my grace is sufficient to you. That when I am weak, he says strong. He said, fix my eyes upon me, because I am still with you. During the time of trouble and difficulties, God did two things. One is that instead of looking at any other solution, because I couldn't look, because there's no other solution. I was stuck there. I was like a little insect caught on the spider web. More I wiggle, I get more, then it's more tangle. So I could not look elsewhere. I can only look at God, look toward God. In the time of trouble, in time of difficulty, the only thing I could do, literally, is that only depend upon God. Look straight to God. Run to God. That was the only thing I could do and best thing I could do at the time. Not only that, he let me depend upon God because starting to build the trust. How God care about me. He talked to you about God who showed up, even giving me a naengmyeon. He showed up and protecting me as he promised. And then in the middle of the day, while I'm working, the Lord continued to remind you that I was here for a reason. And the Lord did a little more than that, and He's been providing, protecting. I was working on the field. At first, I was working on the bean field. I'd never done any farming before. And so I don't know what is bean, what is, I have no idea. So I'm working on the field for the first time. My field was on the hill. It's half rock, half soil. It was not even a good place to do farming. Anyway, I was working, and then the warden of the prison was walking by and saw my field, and he said, And my number was 103. 103. I said, yes. And then he said, have you never done farming before? I said, never. I said, how do you survive not knowing how to farm? I said, well, farmers do farming, and then fishermen go fish. I go to supermarket. And I said, then